there's always a debate about, people trying to take guns away and stuff. And I don't think that's the case.
What's going on, everybody? It's Jackie Ray with Jackie Ray TV. Familiar face. She blessed me and was on my podcast right when I started the podcast. Olivia Nelson-Ododa. She used to be with the LA Sparks.
Hmm.
Welcome back to
Yeah,
LA.
thank
Second
you.
day,
Yeah,
all week you've been here.
all week.
Have you done
Yeah.
anything fun since you've been here?
Really just been with my niece, just
Yeah.
out shopping, kind of just enjoying the weather.
Yeah. Really? Because it's been really hot.
Hmm. I love it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching your shoot around and Coach Austin was being like very intentional about plays and stuff.
Hmm.
I've come to a lot of shoot arounds. I've not seen it be that intense.
Mm.
Is that typically how he runs a shoot around?
Every time.
Every time?
Yes, every time.
Is that different than when you were here?
Um, I mean, thinking back at it just a little bit, but I feel like every organization, every, team has its own thing.
Mhm.
Coaches do things different, but here for sure it's very detailed. It's
Mhm.
very detail oriented. They want everything just done, exactly the way that it should be,
Right.
just to have the best success rate in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So, is there anything specific that you learned or took from LA that's really been helpful for you in Connecticut?
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like the list could go on and on just from my rookie year to now.
Yeah.
I would say just being able to pay attention to that detail too.
Mhm.
Learning from vets too, because this
Mhm.
is an older team and in LA, it was an older team too. So
Right.
just being able to pay attention to what the vets are doing, asking them questions, always picking their brain about things.
Mhm.
And so I think that's also something that I had to, adjust coming in my rookie year, and it's
Mhm.
carried on to now.
Mhm. I'm so excited to see your evolution and
Mhm.
now you're on a team. It's interesting to see the difference, LA's
Mhm.
having a hard time and you're on this team that's having a lot of success.
Mhm.
How does that success feel coming from a team that was also kind of in a hard time when
Mhm.
you were here?
Yeah, I mean, I love playing for a winning team like
Yeah.
this. I mean, honestly,
Obviously, right?
I mean, what player wouldn't, honestly,
Right.
though? But I love just being able to learn as much as I do, and then
Mhm.
also translate on the court to us getting wins and
Mhm.
finding success in that way too. So I think it just helps it, feel like it's paying off. I mean,
Right.
who doesn't want to win, like I said? So I really enjoy being part of a winning culture. Like you
Mhm.
were talking about, just the details in the shoot around, and I think that contributes to so much success on the court too.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I think as players, we feel that. I know the coaching staff does. And I think it's just something that's really great to be a part
Yeah.
of.
So let's talk about something a little personal. We've
Hmm.
seen the recent shooting that
Hmm.
happened and where you're very close to that situation.
Yeah.
We've also seen some people in Congress that now are wearing the AR-15 pins, basically to say that yes, we know this happened, but we still are not anti-gun. Not to say that
Yeah.
anti-gun is the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But for a situation that hits so personal for you and you see that they're still advocating for people to have these assault rifles, how does that make you feel?
I mean, first and foremost, I'm still devastated from what happened in
Mhm.
my hometown. Like you said, it hits very close to home. The principal is a very close family friend of mine. I have a cousin that attends the school
Mm.
too, who was literally a part of everything and saw things that she shouldn't have seen at that age.
Right.
And so I just find it very heartbreaking that even though this is still happening year after year, there's politicians and our congressmen and our supposed leaders for us, um, that still advocate for things like assault weapons. And
Mhm.
so, and I know, there's always a debate about, people trying to take guns away and stuff. And I don't think that's the case. Everybody still has, their right to the Second Amendment, but it's still the fact that we have assault weapons that are used in the majority of these school shootings and of
Mhm.
these massacres. And I think that's the part that we shouldn't have anymore.
Right.
I mean, I think those weapons should not be allowed for a normal civilian to have, and especially a 14-year-old. There's no reason why a 14-year-old should have that or be capable to have a gun like
Mhm.
that in their hands. It's
Mhm.
just unacceptable. And so to see politicians still kind of be in support of that, it's like I said, it's heartbreaking.
Right.
It's horrible to see, and it's gut wrenching, especially when it happens to your community and people that are just so close to you.
Mhm. Do you think that maybe that's the disconnect? Because,
Mhm.
I'm from Colorado, so I remember Columbine very
Mhm.
vividly. And so you have this experience now. Do you think that that's the disconnect? That they're just not, it
Mhm.
hasn't happened to anyone that they know?
Absolutely. I mean,
Mhm.
because even though I support legislation that, supports young kids in school and protecting the youth from gun violence and
Mhm.
protecting people from things like that, you would never think it happens to your community until it does.
Right.
And so when it actually happens to you and you're actually personally affected by it, I feel like that's when people want change for things.
Mhm.
Until then, I mean, the majority of our representatives haven't had anything like that hit close to home.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, I'm saying, but
I know what you mean.
yeah, just like it's devastating.
Mhm.
And it's hard to think about. It's hard to wrap your head around with things like that. And you like I said, you never wish that this would happen on anybody, but I wish that those representatives would have some type of sympathy and
Right.
feel some type of empathy for those communities and, figure out some type of legislature that could help people and
Right.
things like that.
Now, obviously, there's that whole narrative about, hey, you're an athlete. You shouldn't be
Mhm.
talking about
Yeah.
this. That's a very interesting point to me because I'm like,
Mhm.
politics are supposed to affect people.
Right. And we're people.
Right.
At the end of the day, this we go home after
Right.
at the end of the day after we finish our job. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
yeah. So I completely disagree with that. We're people. We're human. Things like
Mhm.
this affect us
Right.
as soon as we step off the court. And so I think that's not fair to just limit somebody to you're just an athlete. You shouldn't speak up about things like this. That
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like that's completely shutting down somebody's voice,
Mhm.
and that's exactly the opposite of what this country's supposed to stand for.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's whenever I hear things like that, it's so frustrating
Mhm.
because people always try and limit athletes to just, oh, you should just what is
You
it?
just
Stick
do
to
this one
dribbling, right?
thing. Yep.
Yeah, shut up and
Mhm.
dribble.
Yep.
So I hate hearing things like that.
Yeah. But how
Mhm.
are you taking care of yourself mentally? Because like you
Yeah.
said, to know that your cousin was there, that kind of gave me
Mhm.
goosebumps because that's a fear that I know you had
Oh
immediately.
yeah.
So how are you taking care of yourself mentally?
Yeah, I mean, just checking in with the people at home,
Mhm.
supporting them the best that they can, and then I have my parents too that have been supporting
Mhm.
me with things, and my own community of friends and people that I know back home. We're all just checking in on one another, kind of
Yep.
seeing how people are holding up, and then also just I think talking about it. I feel like with things like this, the level of grief that you can experience, the level
Mhm.
of sadness just comes in waves. So at
Mhm.
times when I'm on the court, I'm the happiest when I'm here. But then other times when I'm thinking about it and stuff, it just, comes in waves of sadness and things like that. And it's just about navigating those things and kind of figuring out other things and other people you can be around to
Yeah.
help you kind of feel those things and get through that.
Yeah, well, if you ever need me, I'm just an
Oh,
Instagram post away,
yes,
girl.
thank
And you
you.
know what? I
Mhm,
was telling some friends of mine that I was
mhm.
going to interview you, and I had one specific question. A friend was like, "You have to ask her."
Okay.
He said, "Liv," I'm gonna say it just like he said it.
Oh gosh.
He said, "Liv, I know
Mhm.
you can dunk. Why don't you dunk?"
Ooh, that's a good question. Obviously, when I look back at, the thing I did at McDonald's, I was like, "Oh my god, I was so little though, like,
Mhm.
so little." But I feel like actually the crazy part about, going into that dunk was just, like, actually training for it.
Yeah,
So I'm like, if I really, like, am trying to do something like that, I have to, like,
right.
practice and
Make it
train. Like, people just
intentional.
think it's like, "Oh, you just go out there and do it." I'm
Right.
like, "No." Even before I did that when I was younger,
Mhm.
there were weeks leading up to it where I was literally practicing that.
Yeah.
So who knows,
Yeah.
practicing
We put
soon,
it out
maybe.
there
Yeah, we're putting
though.
it out there, so
Hey.
who knows?
It's always so
Yeah.
great to see you. You've been a
Yes.
joy ever since you came into the
Thank
league. And
you.
thank you for always taking time.
Yeah, thank
I
you, and thank
appreciate
you for
you.
the interview.